Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Afros in the Diaspora podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest with us from Cameroon, all the way from Cameroon. We've actually never had a Cameroonian on this podcast, so this is awesome. His name is Elvis Tognia. He is living and thriving in the US, an immigrant from Cameroon to the US. Elvis, say hello, say hello, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, I'm glad to be here in this amazing podcast.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate that. Of course, you're welcome. This is what we do. We love having people. We love, giving people the chance to share their story, to come and kiki with us. So, as is the tradition with Afros in the Diaspora podcast, we're going to ask you about Cameroon, your motherland. Are you ready?
Okay,
Are
absolutely.
you?
I'm ready.
Oh, you're sure?
I'm ready. Yeah, in life, you got to be ready and not
Okay,
have the
good.
opportunity.
Okay.
That, yes.
All right. So I'm gonna start easy, right? Sort of, kind of
Okay,
easy, right?
okay. Let's get it on.
So
Let's get it on.
let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So what is the capital of Cameroon?
It's Yaoundé.
Yaoundé. Yes.
Okay,
Yes. See
seems like
easy.
I'm
See
back in
easy.
school. I'm
Yes,
back in
you're back.
school.
You're right back in school. Yes.
Yeah,
What European country colonized Cameroon before its independence?
it's France.
I mean, duh. And what
No.
ye- what year? What year was your independence? Was the independence of Cameroon?
It was the January 1st, 1960.
Okay, with the dates and
Yes,
everything. Okay,
of
okay. Let me try
course.
to trip you up a little bit. Let me try. Let me try.
That's amazing thing. Come on now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, what is the most popular sport in Cameroon?
It's it's football. Although in
Okay.
America we call it soccer, but it's
Soccer.
football.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
it's the
yes.
original football where people actually use their foot to hit the ball.
To get the
Anyway,
ball, yeah.
let's
Absolutely.
not let's not get
Yeah.
into that.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
what is the nickname for Cameroonian's national football team?
Oh, the Indomitable Lions.
Okay,
Indomitable Lions. Yes,
Indomitable Lions. Okay, so
that is
what
correct.
Cameroon hosted which major continental football tournament in
Cameroon
2022?
hosted African Nation Cup.
African Cup
I
of
don't remember the
Nations.
date. I don't remember the date, to be honest with you, but they've hosted it maybe once or twice.
Did you watch it every single time? Are you a fan of football?
I used to be a fan, but I only watch
Hmm.
football when Cameroonians is actually playing a major tournament, a major championship, whether it is
Oh, I
Nation
see.
African Nation Cup or even the World Cup. But
Oh, I
the
see.
small
Okay,
league,
okay.
yeah, I don't really have
You don't
time for that.
really. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, no,
Mr.
no.
Busy Man. Okay. So,
Well,
who
here's
was
here's the
Cameroon's?
thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask the next question here. Who was Cameroon's
Yeah,
first president after independence?
it's a President Amadou Aijo.
Yes, correct. And who has been the president of Cameroon since 1982?
Okay, if it is the trick question, of course I'm gonna answer. It's a Pobia. Pobia.
Paul Biya. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, clearly you know your country well.
Well, of
Cool.
course, I'm Cameroonian.
Yeah, I know. Okay, okay. Let me ask you about the food now. Let me ask you about the food. So,
The food. Okay.
which Cameroonian dish is made from pounded cocoyam leaves, peanuts, spices, and wrapped in banana leaves?
Wrapped in banana leaves.
Yeah, often wrapped in banana leaves. Yeah.
But here's the thing about Cameroonian. I mean, when you asking me that question, Cameroon is such a country that has a lot of different tribes, right? So, which means
Yeah.
each major tribe has its own version of what you are actually mentioning. There is no
Okay,
one
give me the
universal.
most give me the most common name for it. The most popular name for it from like the most common tribe or whatever.
Um, the common tribe, my tribe, to go there is Bamileke, and we do have the tenue militaire, which is French, and tak fuku, which is in Madimba, which is my language. Basically, that's what we call it. Tak fuku, and then tenue militaire in French.
What can you catch but not throw? You can catch me, but you cannot throw me.
I am completely lost. Oh my God! This is crazy.
Okay. Let me give you a clue.
Yes.
It's not a physical thing.
Okay.
It's not a physical thing.
Okay.
But you can catch it. You can catch it from somewhere, but you can't throw it.
Is it like some kind of disease? Is it?
I guess I could give you that. It's a cold. You know when you catch a cold?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You can't.
I told you that I'm not good at that thing, so I have a low
It's
IQ.
okay.
I got to tell you that. I got a low IQ.
No. You answered all those questions so well, so no, please.
Okay.
You don't have a low IQ.
Let's go for the next.
Let's go for the next one. We have 2 more to go. I have branches, but no fruit, no leaves, no trunk. What am I? I have branches all over the place, but I'm not.
Is it the hot?
The hot?
The hot. Our heart.
Oh, a heart? No.
Wow, man.
Because the heart doesn't have branches, right?
Well, when you see a picture of the heart, it seems like it does have that.
No.
Or man, I'm so bad. Oh my God. I might as well just.
Okay. The answer is a bank or a franchise, basically.
Oh,
they have branches everywhere.
I told you. Oh, this is my weakness. Oh my God. I feel
okay,
ridiculous.
Let me find a simple one for you. If you drop me, I'm sure to crack. But if you give me a smile, I will smile back. Easy, simple.
A baby?
If you drop... No.
I am too bad. I did not get even one answer. What
not
is it?
A baby. If you drop a baby's gonna cry, not crack.
Wow.
If you drop me, I'm something. The moment you drop me, I crack. But if you look at me and you smile, I smile back.
Damn.
What am I?
This is not me.
Okay.
This is not me. Riddles are not my strong suits,
The answer is a mirror.
Oh my God. This is, that's what oh my God.
It's okay though,
so
but
bad.
no need.
I feel so bad.
You did so good. You got literally 100 of 100. In fact, you were educating me when it came to like the trivia questions. So don't worry, you've done very, very well.
Okay.
I feel like the ice has been sufficiently broken.
Okay. Quite the breaking of the ice. Yeah, that's
quite the breaking of the ice.
Make me look full. Make me sound so full.
No. Okay, so you've done very well in the trivia and everything. We're going to move right into into our main conversation for today. And today, Elvis, you're here to tell your story. You are someone who moved from Cameroon to the US without speaking a word of English. And look at you speaking so eloquently, so clearly, so articulated, so you're very, very well spoken. I would never have guessed that you relocated from Cameroon to the US without a word of English. Oh my gosh. Please tell us your story. Tell us what life was like in Cameroon and why you decided to move when you moved and how, that process started.
Yes, of course. I mean, just the part you mentioned makes it possible for everyone that it's possible, just to know that it's possible. Coming from a place that I do not speak a single word of English and now be able to be confident in my ability to communicate only says that it's possible. Almost a lot of things in life. So my life in Cameroon, it's quite a journey, just like anybody. Anybody has a story, right? So I started in Cameroon. I was born actually in the city of Douala, which is the second capital, economic capital of Cameroon. But I was sent to live with my grandmother in the village of Tonga when I was only 4 years of age, simply because my parents could not afford to raise me in the city. That's why I was sent to live with my grandmother. So now I lived with my grandmother, and there were many of our siblings and even some cousin with whom we live with our grandmother. And we live a very modest life. And I'm being very conservative. To be honest, life was tough because in the village of Tonga where we live, the main occupation is subsistence farming. So which means villagers only farm for subsistence, for consumption, right? And then, but my grandmother was a handicap due to an injury to her arm, but she could not cultivate enough that would sustain us until the next harvest season, which means most of the time we find ourselves without food to eat. And then I would spend probably 3 days without a single meal and often survive uh, by the with the corn kernel. I don't know if you know the corn kernel, the
I
roasted
know
corn kernel, and then
roasted corn,
yeah,
yes.
roasted corn kernel. Those are the things that we used to sustain ourselves because we were like probably six kids living with our grandmother. She was very popular. I think she has the knack of raising, grandchildren. Although, to take care of them, it was not easy. So we would spend days even without a single meal. And oftentimes we would go to school hungry. And at that age, I developed a particular inferiority complex simply because we didn't have much. And I would find myself in school during recess when other kids would be buying stuff to eat like beignet, like puff puff with the beans and stuff like that. And then I would just hunker around by the mango tree and not be able to eat during recess. So that caused me to develop an inferiority complex. And I grew up as a very shy person, timid, awkward, and literally spent my whole life in school, never even wanting to raise my hand or even answer a question in classroom. My entire life, even when I went to college. So I grew up like that, grew up very much invisible. Although I'm a tall person, I'm like by the American measurement standard, I'm 6'4", which means I'm a little bit tall, right? But I've always been tall, even back home. But I've always felt invisible, felt small, because of that inferiority complex, because of the things that I was experiencing. And I was even bullied in school. As a tall guy, even young kids used to just bully me around. And I would not even put up with a single fight or single standing up for myself. So fast forward. Well, after living in the village, I was able to go to the city to continue university because there was no university in the village. By all standard, all things considered, I was doing well in school, even though the conditions and the means of were precarious and not really favorable to do well. One thing was we didn't have electricity in the village, which means I only study with the kerosene lamp. And that particular circumstance conditioned me to develop a skill, not a skill per se, but an understanding in school. Because I couldn't read longer with the kerosene lamp at night, I would develop my ability to listen to my teachers in class so that I can capture the lesson right in class rather than wanting to go home before studying. So some of the professors who were quite eloquent, who could explain the courses in ways that I could understand them well. So those were my favorites. So which means I used to love people who could explain themselves correctly, who were eloquent, who has the ability to communicate effectively. Even though I didn't have any of that in me, but it was something that I started to pick up. So fast forward now, I went to college in the city of Douala, which is where I was initially born. And I went to university, graduate studying political science. But then I have the fortunate luck that my aunt, who lived in the US at that time, wanted me to come to the US and continue. And by the way, I'm the only one, I'm the oldest of my family, but the only one who had attended school, simply because my parent couldn't send my sibling. You know, back in Cameroon, I don't know any other country like that, but you have to pay school. There are no public schools. You have to pay from kindergarten to college. So being the oldest one, so my parents just concentrated on me to send me to school. That's why I was able to even go to college. And my aunt thought that it would be good to help me come to the US and continue. At least I can be the light for my family, especially my sibling who did not have the chance to attend school. So that's how I arrived in the US. And I arrived in the US, I was 25, didn't speak a single word of English, culture shocked. And it was even in the US that I have the understanding of my blackness. So which means
Oh yeah.
when I was in Cameroon, everybody was black. It wasn't something
Yep.
that it was in my consciousness that I was black, right? So then when you are confronted with the different race, that's when you realize your own race. So
So
for me,
tell me about some of your like cultural shocks that you experienced moving into this new country where all of a sudden you're a minority, all of a sudden you're a black man, this tall black man that cannot speak a word of English.
yeah,
Um, Tell me about it. Tell me about the shocks and your journey to learning English and being so well spoken.
yes, the first shock for me was the climate. I came just the onset of the winter season.
Oh.
And mind you, I'm coming from a tropical climate. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm in America, and I was actually in Washington, D.C. At
Mm-hmm.
that time. So it was at the beginning of the winter season. Oh my God, everything was hurting. Every exposed part of my body was crazily hurting. My nose, my fingers, my ears, just about. I cursed for coming to America. So
Oh.
if there were options to go back, I would have. But it
Mm.
was my very first shock. The second one was that consciousness of being black in America, because a lot of people that you see on the street and stuff like that, they were white. And of course, there were some black, but even the black that you met, right, you couldn't understand them because of that
Yes.
language barrier. The culture
Mm-hmm.
was absolutely different.
Different,
It
yes.
was completely different back home, and language was the biggest barrier ever for me. So
Mm-hmm.
it was tough to even ask for direction because I couldn't speak the language. Just
Mm-hmm.
tough, you know. Even after a few years that I've spent in US, it was still a tough challenge. I would think that maybe I've learned a few vocabulary, maybe I can get by asking a question or two, but people were still finding difficulties understanding me because at that time, even though I was learning English, um, my accent was getting in the way. It was so
Mm-hmm.
thick. It's different than now. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's a different type of accent, which I
Mm-hmm.
kind of love. I'm in love with my accent now. But back then it was something that was completely different. You couldn't understand the word that was coming out of my mouth, right? Very frustrating. Very frustrating. So the way that I've learned English, although I've taken over the years now, I've taken a few classes, but the most important way that I've learned English was self-learning. And it was a design, a way of learning. One was television. So I would definitely just binge on television, even though I couldn't understand what they were saying, but just some of those shows, some of them were like funny shows. Like I remember Martin, which I don't know, you may not know something
Oh
like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's on
Martin,
Netflix. It's on
yeah,
Netflix.
yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
is it
So
on Netflix? I don't know if it's on Netflix, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
Martin, something like that. Those were some of the funny show because even if I couldn't understand, but the gesturing would make me engage, and eventually
Mm-hmm.
psychologically, with that gesturing and the things that were happening in those shows, I would be capturing what they could be saying or what they could be meaning. So that's how I designed to at least understand, the American way of speaking. And the way that I've actually learned to speak myself is just through reading, because I've taken a couple of classes. To be honest with you, those classes were not really fundamental in transforming my ability to communicate now. So I've started to read, and reading became like the thing for me. So even to this day,
Mm.
I would not spend a single day without reading. So that's what really helped me to improve not only my vocabulary, but the way that I actually can express myself. So yeah,
Mm. That is so exceptional. It's not I'm from Nigeria, right? And we're colonized by the British. So English is our first language or official language or whatever.
yeah,
But even with my English and my English accent, when I moved here and I was speaking like my Nigerian self
yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah,
Omo,
yeah,
the way, like, I can totally relate, for even, well, not obviously not completely, but I just that sense of you're speaking English but it does not seem to be sounding like English to the people that you're
yeah. I
talking
know,
to.
I know, I
And
know.
it's
Yeah,
just like, it's just this weird barrier where it's like, but I speak English too. Or you're in class, because I moved as a student, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you're in class and the teacher is teaching and you're struggling to
To capture,
understand
yeah, to capture it.
what are they saying, for God's sake.
My God,
And it's that thing where you don't want to look like the odd one out, or you don't want to like feel out of place. So like the like standing up to even say, I'm sorry, could you repeat
can you
that,
repeat that?
is, you can, like, the embarrassment to
Oh yeah,
even do that, you
I
would
know.
not, so like even that was tough. But moving here without any English, shout out to you. So like your aunt said that you could come and go to school
Yeah,
here, right?
yes.
So how was school like for you? Like you how was that like? Like what was your experience? Did you move here and directly get admission and get into school? Or
No,
was
no.
it after some time?
Yeah, a couple of things. I don't want to divulge some kind of like
Oh, of
procedure here,
course.
but the
Oh,
thing
of
is, when
course.
when I
Yeah.
moved here, I have to go to process of really legalizing myself. That took about maybe a year or so, right, to get to the
Mhm.
point that you have some paper that you can actually
Mm.
not only attend school but even work,
But you
right?
can live,
So
work,
yeah,
yes.
work.
Totally.
So yeah, it took that time. It took me at least a year and a half. I was actually at home and I was
Mm.
doing the things that I mentioned to you, watching a lot of
Mhm.
TV. And even reading wasn't yet in the sphere of my consciousness. I would, like once in a while just try to read, like,
Mm.
lazily like want to read. But to be honest with you, life transformation started to happen uh, after maybe over 10 years in US. I would just,
10, wow.
you got to, learn English, but at the same time you have to work because, this is America, you got to pay the bills.
Yeah, you gotta pay
So,
bills and taxes.
so
Yes.
I started to work at McDonald's. That was my very first job. I often,
Hmm.
in my speaking journey now, I often refer myself as Eddie Murphy in the movie Coming to America because, as you can see, part of my name is Prince. I often tell
Yes.
people that Eddie Murphy in that movie was the Prince of Zumumba. I am the Prince of
Zamunda.
Buffett Bar. So
Oh.
and, and then when he came to America, his first job was McDonald's, and that was my
Hmm.
first job. To some
Hmm.
extent, my life likens the one of Eddie Murphy in that movie. So
In that
my
movie.
my first job was McDonald's. I was there, happy to work at McDonald's, just taking orders. Can I help you? Cheeseburger. Those are even learning the names of burgers was a
Hmm.
challenge to me. It took me a
Hmm.
lot of time to just learn like
Hmm.
Big Mac and cheeseburger, bacon. I mean, all of
Hmm.
these things were foreign to me. So it took me some time.
Yeah.
And eventually, at
Yeah.
one point, I memorized the names. So what happens after a few months, I think about 7 months at the McDonald's, is one day a customer came in. She was pushing, she was demanding. I tried to
Hmm.
help, but she didn't, she was just like that sort of attitude type of customer, right? So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
kind of snapped back because, and she snapped back at me and then just stormed to the manager. And I just watched them talking and I was there, all silent. I couldn't express myself. I couldn't defend myself. I just watched
Hmm.
them talking. The next day, my manager called me and fired me. So that was the day I made up my mind that I was going to find ways to know how to
Wow.
defend me in terms of expressing myself, my side of the story, or whatever the situation may be. So
Yeah.
But even then, it didn't provide that M factor of motivation to be able to set
Mm-hmm.
myself in a new direction. And that
Mm.
happened a few years later. And this particular year, I was actually taking an English class at a community college, Santa Monica College, here in Los Angeles. And then because I spent my whole life in Cameroon in school, I never raised my hand to answer or even,
Mm.
ask a question. In America, it's different. You have to participate.
Mm.
So one day in that English class, my professor called my name, wanted me to read a poem, a passage in the book. We were studying a poem by John Coltrane. She wanted me to read that passage in the book. That's when all hell broke loose.
Oh.
All hell broke loose for me. I never done something like that my entire life. My entire
Mm.
life. So I stood up to read, then my mind sat back down.
Oh
I
no.
completely froze. I start to shake. My sweat start to pour all over my body, including my hair. I used to have hair. Don't look at me like this, but I used to have hair once in a while. So sweat start to pour all over me in front of
Mm.
everybody. But then something moved inside of me to read, and I read. I couldn't understand what I was reading. Then the professor said something that changed everything for me. She said, Elvis, there's something about your voice that's pleasing to hear. You should read often. Now, oftentimes teacher would give a feedback and encouragement to kids, right? But for me, it was more than just an encouragement. It was kind of a seed that was planted in me. Just think about it.
Mm.
Somebody who grew up his entire life, never thought that he has something to contribute, never
Mm.
feel valued, never had any high self-esteem, have who had a low self-confidence, who've been bullied in school. Now the
Mm.
teacher just said that there's something valuable about you. So for me, it wasn't just an encouragement. It was a seed that was planted in me. You see, so on occasion now in class, I would want to hesitantly raise my hand, even though I was kind of like trying to kind of, yeah, like,
Yeah.
you know. So that led me to the path of wanting to do more of that. Ask questions, even though
Mm.
sometimes those questions were stupid, or even answer, even though it wasn't the right answer. But that led me to the path of trying to fish more praise. I just want people to say, oh, I like your accent. I like your voice. I just wanted more of that. That led me to
Yeah.
want to do more. And I realized the more I do that, the better I become. The more I do that, the better I become. And I started to
Mm.
be like, if I have to say something, I need to know what to say. That's what
Mm.
set me to the path of ferocious reading. I was reading like crazy. I
Mm.
start to read like crazy every day because I need to equip myself with vocabulary. If I don't say something,
Yeah.
you know, I want to,
Elvis,
yes,
this is because you just touched on something so important, and I don't think like a lot of people realize. I mean, people probably realize it, but it's not really talked about enough. Because people that are placed in places of authority, especially for people who are in the vulnerable place of learning and gaining from someone, I don't think those people sometimes realize how much power they have and how much impact and how much
yeah.
how their words could literally alter a person's life. Like you just said that so beautifully, because that is true, right? And the teacher may just have been speaking her
Yeah,
truth, like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
right? Like you I've not heard you speak in this class, but there's something about your
yes,
voice, you should do this more.
yeah.
And look at how that planted a seed. And you're not even, it wasn't like you're a kid in kindergarten or like in high school or middle school or whatever,
I was an
where a teacher
adult.
is saying, "Oh, you can do this," and
Yeah,
then, but you're a grown
I
man,
was
like
an
you're an
old man.
adult, you've had jobs, you have, you
Yeah,
know what I mean, you have responsibilities, and even then, like the fact that place of hierarchy where there's a teacher and a student, regardless of age,
yeah.
the that teacher poured into you. Whether they knew that what they were doing or not, and I just let's just like shout out to whoever that teacher is.
In fact,
Shout out.
I met that teacher might have been like possibly. maybe 7 years after that. And I told her, and she
Oh,
was all
really?
red. Well, it was kind of a Japanese, but she was all red, completely
Oh,
red, because
wow.
as you mentioned, the moment she said it, she would just say
Mm-hmm.
it to as an encouragement, you know?
Yeah.
But she didn't even
Yeah.
know the extent to which that encouragement can change the life of somebody.
Yeah.
And I told her that
That.
because of her, this is the person I'm becoming. She turned red.
Wow.
She realized, oh, she was almost crying. She was like, oh no. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Oh.
Ah,
Wow. Wow. Shout out, man. Shout out. Shout. And I
well,
feel like God puts people like that in on our paths to just kind of set us on the right way and just encourage us, and especially when you're feeling so down and discouraged, like you
yeah,
just lost your job, you just like
yeah,
things are happening,
yeah,
and you're like, I'm in this country, I have family back home, I have to make it work,
yeah,
and then just hearing that word of encouragement really makes a difference. So I'm glad
yeah.
that you got the opportunity to tell her how much of an impact she
I
had
did.
on you.
I
And I
did.
bet she'll never forget that. Like she'll
She would
talk about
never.
that every time. Like she would never forget that.
Absolutely not.
um yeah, but since you were saying, so you started reading more and consuming more because now, Elvis, you're literally you're a teacher. You teach other people how to speak. Like you're a public speaker. You have written books. Like talk about the growth, right? And
Yeah,
you wrote these books in English.
yeah,
Talk about the play. Like you literally started from no English, moved to the US as an adult, 25 years old, not a word of English, going from class to, taking classes at community colleges and places,
yeah,
being kind of like racially discriminated
yeah,
because you can't even speak the language, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
all these experiences that you
yeah.
had. And then you are in a place now where you're literally training people.
Yes,
Literally, you have a website called Speaking with Elvis. You
yes,
teach people how to
yeah,
communicate, you
yeah,
teach people how to
yeah,
speak, how
yeah,
to, and you literally look at the trajectory.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
it's
know.
it's
I remember.
miraculous. It
I,
speaks to your resilience and your
I,
tenacity.
I
So tell
remember
us how you got there.
just an anecdote. Just yesterday, I was talking to an acquaintance that we've met. We've been in LA for quite some time. We first met years ago, and then we sat down and we were talking. And it was just the beginning when I started to think like maybe I'm going to become a speaker. And then in hindsight, he was just telling me yesterday that he looked at me and he said like, this guy be saying like he's going to be a speaker. He doesn't even construct the whole sentence correctly in English. How could you going to be there? So
Wow.
he just told himself like that. But now in hindsight, he was telling me that I am like in his life, he never seen somebody who has improved so tremendously, in so it was just an anecdote. And then yeah, so the path of trying to acquire more vocabulary, that if I have to ask question in class or even outside of classroom, so that I have something to say, I have the
Mm,
vocabulary with which I can use to ask that question.
mm,
So I started to
mhm,
read to gain that vocabulary. That was my first idea about reading. Now,
mm,
while I was reading, I started to discover things in books that were telling me something in mind, some principles, some philosophy of life, some things about where you are today is not where you're going to end up. Like we can always change our mind in order to change some of these philosophy of life. And that was
mhm.
speaking deeply to me because I grew up like I would say in the darkness of mind. I was so lost. Some of you guys nowadays, very wise, my upbringing was like so dumb. I didn't know
Oh
anything
no.
about life. It was so dumb. So for me to start reading and understanding these things in this book, I'd be like,
Mhm,
my God, if I
mhm,
knew this when I was growing up, if I knew this
mhm,
when I was 25, maybe things would
mhm,
have been different for me. And I didn't hesitate to be able to see if I can start to share that with other people who could be in the same position that I used to be. That's when,
mhm,
at that particular moment, I actually even created a nonprofit called Africa You Can, which I would go back in Cameroon and start just teaching, just transferring all of these things that we're learning in books to kids back home. In school, I would organize seminars and workshops in different schools, in different cities, in different villages, to the point that I started
Wow.
to form a team. We would travel back in Cameroon and we would just do those seminars. I would just teach them like how to set goals, how to discover your passion, how to all of these things. I just want to transfer. At the same time, I started to think about, oh my God, I was so excited about sharing this, writing the book, like sitting down and writing. I'm telling you, somebody who never even attend like like a writing class or something like that. I was so driven by just this passion of discovering the goal of mine. Like our life is not set things, right? The idea, comparing with the idea of a fixed mindset with the growth mindset, we are not fixed
Mm.
mindset that we can
Yeah.
develop ourselves, we can become better. So that's how
Yeah.
that caused me to want to like, even write a book. That's when I
Mm-hmm.
wrote my very first book, which is called Rise to Your Best Life. That was my very first book. And then years later, I wrote my second book, which is Light Up Your Life. And now recently,
Mm.
I published my third book, which is The Power of Your One Thing. So it was just out of excitement of discovering the beauty, the different philosophy of life, the things that can make us
Mm.
just enjoy life, develop, go to that
Mm-hmm.
next level, whatever that is, in our career,
Mm-hmm.
in our life, in our relationship, in all aspects of our life. I just want to share that. So at the same time, because I have developed myself to the point that I can actually share it in the group setting, and I thought that I'm in the better position to help the person I used to be, which means, the
Right.
person who is in a situation that I used to be, I am most qualified to help that person. That's what I made it a mission of mine, because I realized communication is the key. You see, I've grown in my whole life having ideas. Even when it comes to relationship, I would see, even when I was growing up, maybe I would see this beautiful girl in school, but I didn't have the courage to even go and just talk to her. I miss a lot in life. I miss in relationship. I miss in opportunity. I miss in all of these things because I didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
courage, simply because I didn't have the confidence to communicate. That's what I made it a
Mm.
mission to be able to help those, which I realize our society now, people may have great
Mm.
ideas, people may have
Yeah.
services or product, but if they cannot
Mm.
sell it, if they cannot bring it in the way that can make impact, it would just be an idea. It would just be a vision. That's
Mm.
why communication became kind of like my one thing. That's the title of my last book, my one thing in life. So
Wow. Oh my
that's
goodness.
just
Thank
that.
you for sharing all of that. Thank you for sharing all of that so vulnerably, because talked about how you went to courses, the teacher that impacted you,
Yes,
you were a ferocious reader, and you
yes,
started learning so much that you wanted to share the knowledge that you gained.
yes,
So you
yes,
started Africa We Can, and
yes.
then got inspired to write your own book, and
Right
now
book.
you've
Yeah, yeah.
yes, and
Stop
now you've
writing books.
written 3 books.
Yes, yes, yes. My recent
So
recent one being, yeah. I think I'll stop on my recent book.
yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah,
I was mentioning my very recent one.
just like I was saying, shout out to you for the work that you put in. You literally came up the hardest way possible in a place that it's so easy to get discouraged, because people just look at you, you don't speak the language, or you have an accent, and automatically it's so weird, like especially white folks, man. Just assume that you're unintelligent, like you're
Yes,
dumb or you're
yes.
dull. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
I do.
yeah, and I experienced that. Like this accent you are hearing now is not my mother tongue, and I can flip and I can flop.
You
But
can put.
like you came up in a place where like it was not easy, and you've done all these great things. You literally started a foundation where you guys go back to impact, folks in Africa. You have written 3 books, and you literally teach people about speaking. So I just wanted to say hats off to you.
Oh,
Shout out to you.
well, thank
You
you.
did
I
it.
mean,
You're
that
doing
is,
it.
here's the thing. There is nothing extraordinary about that. Of course, there are people who've gone through the most horrendous situations, and they came out of it
Mm-hmm.
stronger and better and impacting even many lives out there. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to say is, we do have the resilience seed in us as human being. I mean, we have the ability to bounce back from any adversity. Most of the time, it's kind of natural. Like, for instance, I'm going to give a simple example. Maybe you've been in the bad relationship in the past, and then you've gone over it now. Time has healed, and maybe you've taken some steps to heal, which means you did not die as a result of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you bounce back. Although, some people may be traumatized by maybe some things in the past, but naturally, what I realized that we do have the ability to bounce back from adversity.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Also, I just want to say the example you gave of like a domestic violence relationship is wild. I was not expecting that. That's comparison at all. But I see what you're saying, and but I do want to say that it is extraordinary because like, and it's very easy for you to kind of downplay it. But I want to be the one to tell you that it's not easy learning a language from scratch in a place where the seed, like it's very easy for that seed of desire in you to be choked out. So please take these flowers that I'm giving you. It's extraordinary. Clap for
Okay, thank
yourself.
you. I take it.
You've
Thank
done
you.
amazing. You
Thank
know
you.
what I
Thank
mean?
you.
Clap
Thank
for
you.
it. You like you receive it.
I've fully
It's
embraced the flower. I've fully
it's
embraced it.
not easy, right? And
Yes,
from
yes,
no English to being an author, like come on now, that's not that. I know people who have been in this, in Canada. I'm in Canada, right? I know
yes,
folks who've been here, whether Asian folks or whatever, 20 plus years, they
yes,
can't speak
true.
as well as you're
No,
speaking.
true, true,
You know
true.
what
I
I mean? Not
no.
to talk of teaching others how to speak or teach. And it's
Yes,
just that's not what they're pursuing. Maybe they're pursuing other things, and no
yes,
shade at all to anyone. But this
yes,
was something that was a priority to you, and
yes.
you did it. So I
Thank
just
you.
want to say, I want to give you your flowers by
No,
force, by
I'm
fire. You
taking it.
must collect these
I'm
flowers.
taking. I'm collecting
Good.
it. I'm collecting it. Yeah, I'm collecting it. Thank you.
Good. Awesome.
Thank you for
So
that.
absolutely. So how about you tell us a little bit more about speaking with Elvis?
Yes, speaking with Elvis, as I may have mentioned that last time. It's a communication and consulting company geared toward communication and public speaking. So, in the essence, because now I overcame the horror of trying to communicate, trying to be visible through my expressive means. So I thought that I'm more qualified today to be able to help other people. Now, speaking with Elvis is a company that I created just a few years ago to help leaders and professionals to be able to speak and present with power. So to transform the insecurity into power and the voice into influence. That's simply
Hmm.
what speaking with Elvis is, like Sarah, helping you from where you are to where you want to go with the means of communication. Because as I mentioned last time, I don't know if I've mentioned last time, because just before we started recording, I was just finishing a training, the boot camp that I'm actually running at this time, and that's the idea, to be able to oftentimes create boot camps and doing coaching one-on-one, doing even in speaking with Elvis, I do keynote and then different. Even MC sometimes I would MC events such as a networking event and even some party. You used to see me at the party, just holding the mic and dropping energy and just making it happen at the party because, it's about communication. So once you know how to use your voice, really, you become almost unstoppable because communication is the mean through which you can negotiate reality in life. Literally, communication is the means through which you negotiate your own reality. I'm talking about if you want to go on a date with somebody. It is through the means of communication. You got to be able to persuade that person to see that you really want to be with them. If you want to do a presentation at work, you want to convince is not even the right term, persuade either your boss or even your coworker to see your vision in that presentation. You want to negotiate your salary, you want to negotiate your promotion. You just don't come to your employee and say, I want a promotion. I've been working hard. That's it. No, you got to tell it in a way that the boss would see that really you are valuable. So that's why I created Speaking with Elvis, to really say that you are responsible to broadcast your own brilliance. Sometimes people would not see it. You assume oftentimes that people see your brilliance. No, you have to be able to broadcast your own brilliance, to share that this is what you are about, this is what you can bring to the table, and it is through the means of communication. And that's what Speaking with Elvis does.
Wow. I'm sold. I am
So,
sold.
that's it.
You were dropping, you were like, it's the means through which you negotiate your reality.
Absolutely.
Omo,
Absolutely.
that's serious,
Absolutely.
oh.
Absolutely. Literally, I mean, think about it, right? Think about it.
Yeah, you're not
Any,
lying. I've just
any,
never
any,
heard it like that.
yeah, no, any situation that you have, let's just say you have a vision that you want to share with friends, investors, or collaborators. You see? So you can only use your ability to communicate, to let them see that vision clearly, because nobody sees it as you do. You may be like, oh, I have this idea, but you have to put it in the way that people can see it clearly, just the way that you see it. And there is no other way than how to communicate effectively. That's
That's
what.
so that's so amazing. So towards the end, you will tell us how people can get in touch and
Sure,
reach out
absolutely.
if they want to. But I'm
Yes.
so curious because I've watched you speak, and we spoke a little bit before starting to record the episode, and you speak with a lot of power, a lot of confidence, a lot of like you have a lot of belief in yourself, in what you're saying, in your spirit, in what you have to offer. And I just admire that so much, because that's not something you that is common in a lot of immigrants. That's not something that's common in people who don't have the North American English accent.
Hmm.
That's not something that's common in a lot of spaces, right? But here
Yes.
you are standing 10 toes in your pride as an
Yeah.
African man with English as your second language, speaking it with your accent so beautifully, so confidently. And I just want to first of all acknowledge that,
It's okay.
and I want to
Now,
ask, like,
you making me blush now. But you cannot see. You cannot see though. You cannot see. You making me blush. But you cannot see. I'm just,
but tell me, I'm so curious, like what are some things that give you that confidence? And we've heard about your story, we've heard about your background, we've heard like how you've literally made leaps and bounds and jumps, and even though we're looking at it years later and it's looking
yeah,
like this amazing thing, you
yeah,
did the work every single day, even when it looked like it wasn't happening and all that. So what fuels your confidence? What gives you this confidence to stand 10 toes where,
yeah.
people are like, oh, he has an African accent. And you're like, yes, and so? You know what I mean? Like, tell me about it. Like, tell me,
So
because a lot of immigrants are taught to be ashamed of their accents, right? Taught to
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
ashamed
No,
of their voice, ashamed of their background. And it's not like it's being taught, it's like society, the way people look at you, the way people talk to you, the way people relate with you, racism, micro and macro aggressions
yeah,
teach you to
yes,
shrink. Those things teach you
yes,
to shrink and
yes,
minimize yourself and reduce
yeah,
your voice and look for this weird white, the most white accent, but on North American accent,
yeah.
just to fit in, right?
Yes,
What?
sure, absolutely,
Yeah, tell
absolutely.
me your
Yeah.
sole confidence in the way you
So,
stand out, and just share that with us.
but I'm gonna respond that in two ways. I first establish some level of confidence, as I mentioned to you earlier, that I came in this country in the United States. I was 25 years of age, and I was still that shy, introverted, awkward person. Literally, I would try to hide in any situation that required me to even stand in front of a group, just standing in front of the group. I
Mhm.
never want to let because my confidence, my self-esteem was on the floor, right on the floor. So I spent those 25 years in Africa, almost invisible, right?
Mm.
And And one thing is, it seems as though I never belonged in Africa. Why? Because I was so
Oh.
bullied for being tall. I don't know the measurement. I think we have the same
Yeah, yeah.
measurement. I'm
You
six
said you
four.
were 6'4", yeah.
Yeah, I'm 6'4". So which means I've always been kind of tall, right? And in most classes, from kindergarten to even college back home, I've always been one of the tallest in class. And kids had always made fun of me. They have called me different names. They call me Longo. Longo, that means you long, They call me Chinese bamboo, they call me
No
No, no,
way.
seriously. See, in the Western society, they may not believe that because now they kind of appreciate those who are taller. I kind of see my value now to be tall, 'cause people admire, like, oh, you taller
Right,
too.
right, right, right,
But
yeah.
back home, it was different story. I was so bullied about my height to the point that I even thought one day when I came back from school, like, if I had the possibility to cut my leg, you know, to be short, it's something that crossed my mind literally when I was kids growing up. So I used to see all these guys who were shorter than me, like, oh, they were ballers, they got girls, and I was just
Wow.
there, That's how my confidence was. Now I came to the United States, here in Los Angeles. I started to go and do a little bit of running at the beach, right? And I was like, I took my shirt off, and it's kind of hot, and then oftentimes, maybe some girls would just mention like, "Well, you tall and you're nice and tall." I thought it was sarcastic at the beginning. Literally, I thought it was sarcastic. Like, it's a continuation of that sort of bully, but in a sarcastic way. But it just kept being repeated by people like, "Oh, you're nice and tall," things like that. And it started to dawn on me that it's actually a compliment rather than, yeah, people started to, and to be honest with you, it may be like a kind of funny way to regain some level of confidence, but that's how I start to believe that, whoa, there's something about that. So that was how some level of confidence established itself in me, to know that, oh man, I'm kind of like tall, I'm a tall guy. So but then fast forward when I started to develop my ability to communicate now, I wanted to be like an American because once you come here, you want to change your accent since you do have a thick accent. And at first, I wanted to change. I even took some classes to want to change my accent. As I mentioned to you at the beginning, it was frustrating that you would want to even ask for direction and people wouldn't understand what you were saying. So it was absolutely frustrating. So I wanted to change how I spoke, at least the accent. And at one point, I realized, because I was already on the journey of developing my ability to speak, I realized it wasn't just about the accent, right? So for me, in order to be understood, I wanted to articulate clearly. I wanted to pronounce all the vowels, to pronounce all the T's, to be heard, to be understood. And that led me to the path, or even sounding British, because some people even thinking that, I sound a little bit British. And it was in that desire to want to speak clearly, to be understood, that I wanted to articulate. And I realized that the problem usually with us immigrants is not the accent. The problem is the articulation. Because when you start to articulate clearly, now your accent beautifies even the way that you speak. Your accent becomes something positive, because now the one thing that people realize when I stand in front of the group to speak, it's that accent, it's that clear intonation, right? That's what people notice. And I realized our problem as immigrant is not even the accent. Our problem is the articulation. Why? Because oftentimes we want to speak English, a new language, with the same mouth movement we do when we speak our native tongue. We do when we speak our natural language. If I'm speaking French, there's a particular way that I use the muscle of my mouth to speak that particular language. And I've spoken that for years. So it became kind of the habit. Now, when I'm trying to speak a new language, I'm trying to use the same mouth movement to speak that new language. That's where the accent gets in the way. But then when we start to articulate, and the way that we articulate, I teach how, somebody can articulate well. There are some exercises that I give, especially when I teach courses. There are lots of different exercises that I give to my student to help them to articulate. And one of the first exercises is simply to exaggerate when you speak on your own, like you practicing at home, right? You just exaggerate. If you are reading a book, instead of just reading in your head, you read out loud. And when you read out loud, try to pronounce all the syllable that you see in the word. You exaggerate, you use your mouth. Once you practice that in private, when you come in public in front of somebody, now it becomes natural. You don't have to exaggerate because now your mouth would have used a different set of muscle, different set of movement in order to articulate the new language quite clearly. And the emphasis, it's on clearly. It's not even on raising the accent. So that's how I was able to stand in that level of confidence, not only from, being, realizing that, I do, in fact, my height is denies that. In fact, if you ask many girls, like, what type of guy you were, the first, one of the things, like, I want a tall guy. Like 80%, like 80%, like 80%, we've seen that, we know that, so, and that gave me some level of confidence. And when I started to develop my ability to speak, now I realize that no, I don't have to sound like anybody else, because anybody else is already taking the already themselves. Why would I be like them? I got to be me. I got to broadcast my own brilliance in my unique way with my unique accent. In fact, I bring global perspective in my accent. That shows that I do have something else to contribute more than a Native American speaker.
I first of all shout out, of course,
Yes.
and I understand how your height, something that you were looked down upon, became
Yes.
something that you were admired for. I can
Yes.
totally, completely see how that will
Yes.
like
A
change
change.
like your self orientation and your self
Oh,
esteem. Like I totally see and understand that, and that is so real. And like you said, Africa was not meant for you, and that part almost offed me because
I know, because literally,
because honestly here, there are people who were also raised here who were bullied for one thing or the other. You know what I
yes.
mean? Bullying is not like remote to Africa or remote
No, no,
to
sure,
anywhere in the
sure, sure,
world.
sure.
You know what
I'm
I
just,
mean?
I'm,
So like, so I mean that part, that's a question mark, man. I'm not gonna
no, no,
lie,
no, no, no.
but
The thing is, no, it's not like Africa was not meant for me. It's just like I didn't fit back then. I didn't fit.
yeah, and
Uh,
that just was the reality that you found yourself in, right?
yes,
And
yes.
it has formed you to be this amazing
No,
speaker who you are
absolutely. I
right
had
now.
to go
And
through
so
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
100%. So another thing you did mention was the accent. And I hear you, and I want to like make sure you understand that I'm honoring what you're saying, but at the same time there's just an element of it that I have a little bit of a question mark to, because
Mhm.
someone like me, I British people colonized Nigeria, so Nigeria is our legal what is it, lingua franca.
Frank.
Let me take that again.
Okay,
English is
okay.
our lingua franca.
Here you go, Frank.
That's the language we speak, right? That's
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
taught in our schools. That's our major language, and
yeah.
so that's what I grew up speaking. I grew up speaking English the way I grew up speaking it, like a Nigerian woman, you get. And then on top of that, the way Nigerians speak when we use our whole mouth to talk
Mhm.
is not the same way that North Americans speak. Because even just look at me now. When I was talking like in my normal Nigerian accent, you see the way
Yeah,
my mouth is opening like this.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then if
yeah.
I switch it to my Canadian accent, my mouth like it shrinks smaller. So like what you said is completely correct about how like the orientation of our mouths or like buccal cavity, like the muscles,
Yes,
it's so different. Like
yes.
that is okay, that's a word. I do want to say though that like and I love that your experience with it has been that accent has not been the issue or the problem for you. You haven't identified that as an obstacle. But man, I have tons of examples, and I know tons of people who have been looked down on because of accent. Like I came here speaking English, but my English was not Canadian English, and so therefore you're talking, and somebody's looking at you like this, like who is this? You get what I mean? And sometimes it's not always vocal to where it's like, where are you from? Like, do you know how many times I've had people ask me where I'm from? I don't understand.
I know it's gonna be.
And so like I forget exactly what like the exact point I'm trying to make now because I've gone all over the place. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just want to say that like while I hear you that like like it's not about the accent, at the same time it is. It's about articulation within the accent. In my
yes,
Nigerian English, I'm very articulate. But the reality of the matter is, with the way I'm hitting all my T's and my P's and my all these things, that's not the way like North Americans speak sometimes, right? I remember the time someone, the word monotonous.
yeah,
Here they call it monotonous.
yeah. In America,
And
they do that.
I remember the first time someone said that word to me, I was like, sorry, what? What do you mean? But they're like monotonous, and my brain glitched. I was
Yes,
like, what
the,
in the
the,
world is this? I studied English. I mean, Nigeria. English is
the,
our first language, and I just, there are words like that where like it just my eyes cross, and I'm like, am I dumb? I'm not dumb. I know book. I know how to talk. And then I had the person spell what they were talking about.
monotonous?
And
Yeah.
it was monotonous. In Nigeria, we call it monotonous. Somebody's calling it monotonous. You get it? So the way I say it is articulated. It's
Yes,
articulated
yes.
according to the syllables. Monotonous. But here,
No,
what do they call it?
but
Monotonous.
but
You
here's
get
the
what
thing.
do you see the difference?
And then the thing is, you don't worry about the way they sound in America. That's what I say, that we don't want to be like anybody else, right? We just want to be understood, especially when we
That's
speak.
it. That's
That's
it.
it.
To be understood. And the reality
To be
I've
understood.
found is that if I'm talking to someone and I say monotonous, they will ask me what I'm talking about. If I do not say it the way they say it, do you understand what I'm saying? If
Yes,
I
yes.
don't, there's so many words. Like I remember I
No,
was late.
they are so many.
I was late to a class and I was like, and there was a line for submitting an assignment. I don't remember what it was. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, is this a queue? And the person looked at me like I was from the gutter. A queue? What's a queue? I don't know what that is. Is this a line? Are you guys lining up for something? Oh yeah, it's a line. It's not a queue. And I was like,
Oh,
ah!
oh my god. No, no,
Do you get what I'm saying? Do you
no,
get the comparisons
absolutely,
here?
absolutely, absolutely.
So it's not. I find out, yes, while sometimes it's the articulation, other
Yeah,
times it's not. It's just the
yeah,
fact that I speak a different kind of English because I was colonized by a different kind of people. In the
yeah,
UK, this will not be a
yeah,
problem. Like if I was living
yeah,
in London, if I asked
yeah.
if this was a line or a queue, they'll totally tell me yes, it's a queue.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any misunderstanding there,
No,
right?
true,
And
true,
the
true.
reality of the matter is
Because
just because of the place we find ourselves,
yes,
speaking it can sometimes turn out to be political, and it's ridiculous,
yeah,
to be
no,
honest.
true. And then for me, because I didn't have the pre language establishment, especially when it comes to English. So
Yeah.
having learned that from scratch, even though I learned it from scratch, I still had accent, as I mentioned to you at the beginning. So
Hmm.
now for me to be understood, because now the feedback that I hear from almost everybody, a person who's just trying to learn English, or even the person who grew up in the English speaking country, they understand me clearly, and
Hmm.
that's what people appreciate, especially my teaching, because they tell me that they understand every word that I speak, and
Hmm.
that's my goal, right? I
Yeah,
don't want to say
absolutely.
like monotonous when somebody who just started English would not know what that is. I
That
say
exactly.
monotonous. I would say
Yes.
monotonous,
Yes,
to, because
100%.
I want to pronounce all the syllabus so that
Yep.
even the person who just starting to learn the English can
Can
understand
understand.
me clearly.
And that is amazing because like again, you have a particular folks, like a particular type, I'll say,
Yeah,
of folks that come for your services and stuff. And we've talked about accents. I still have an accent. No matter how much I want to raise
Yeah.
up my English, there are some Nigerians that like I'll be talking on the phone, be like, "Oh, are you a Nigerian?" And I'm like, "Ah, upon all my work to have accent, or they can spot me from a mile away."
Oh
So,
no.
so it's always there. You have an accent. It may not be as strong as when you
Yeah.
moved here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have an accent. It may not be as strong as when I moved here. You get so.
And to be honest
Yeah,
with you, I love my accent now
me
because, again, I
too.
do very much so. And I want to stay unique because
Yes.
I still mention it. I don't want to be. Here's the thing, for instance, in US, I can, be booked to speak at the conference, and there are so many other speakers there, right? There could be like 5 or even 10 speakers, Americans. Every one of them would sound almost the same. But
Hmm.
when I come in and use everybody would perk up. Even if you were sleeping, you'd be like, who the hell is that guy? Who the hell is that kind of accent? So that's an engagement when it comes to speaking, because you want to engage people in
Yeah.
the message that you want to share with them,
Yes.
but already waking them up into that unique, different type of accent. You are
Mm.
winning, already over, monotony of
Monotony.
accent, the monotony of accent, the, the monotony of accent. So that's absolutely,
Oh my goodness, Elvis, this has been such an amazing conversation. Thank
you
you
know, so
again.
it's how, if that's communication, to be
Yeah,
able to connect, because that's what makes you connect, connect.
that's what it do. Yeah.
Two people who didn't know each other before, now they connect through the means of communication that is so engaging, and they just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So tell us where people can find you. Tell us about your boot camps, whatever it is you want to share with the audience. Please feel free.
Yes, I am on any other social platform like anybody. We live in that age now. So if people can find me, it's Facebook, Instagram, and just about any LinkedIn, and it's Elvis Prince Tognia. Elvis Prince Tognia. Although it's on Facebook, it's only Elvis Tognia, but the rest of the platform, whether it is TikTok, although I'm not big on those on social media, I'm like an old generation, so not any excuse, but yeah, people can find me there. My boot camp, usually I run it like maybe 3 times a year. Usually I organize it. Sometimes it could be in the period of 5 weeks. So, and I would go through the fundamentals of communication and public speaking, where I can take somebody from how to craft a simple story. And that's one thing about communication, to be able to tell a good story, a story that can stop a movement, not just any type of story, a story that can, just impact lives, how to craft a better story, and how to use your voice and even body language and listening skills. So I usually take my student from week 1 to week 5, and so that they come out of it as a confident speaker, as somebody who can actually deliver a presentation that is worth listening. And I do also do one-on-one coaching when it comes to communication and public speaking. So I do that on a private setting, one-on-one, and then you can find me on those platforms. And my website also is speakingwithelvis.com. So that's where people can find me. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elvis. Leave a last word of advice for the audience, something they can just take with them.
No, the word of advice for me, it's a quote. And that quote is simply this: when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. That speaks of a perspective. Let me repeat that one more time. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. That speaks of a perspective in life, that everything is perspective. The way do you look at things could be the problem of that thing. So when you shift how you see things, when you shift how you interpret things, how you analyze things, you might find something different. You might be going through a problem. You might be going through a situation, but think about it. I think it's in the book, Think and Grow Rich, this second quote that I want to make. Every adversity, every difficulties, every challenge comes with the seed of an equivalent benefit. Like in anything that you are going through, there's a seed of something positive in it. If you look at it, you would find it. So that's all I want to leave the audience with.
Thank you so much, Elvis. Wow, those were very impactful. They actually got me thinking, like,
Well,
I
it's
receive it. I
it's
receive it.
worth
I
thinking. It's
receive it.
worth really
Yeah.
deeply thinking about it. You know.
Yes.
Yes.
Once again, Elvis, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for making it to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. You know, for me, I've been obsessed about sharing. You know, I'm so excited. You know, from the day one that I discovered that I can share some information to this day until I die, I would love to share.
Yeah. Once again, thank you. And to our audience, until our next episode, love, peace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.